Hi everybody, this is Lisa Johnson with Lisa Johnson Fitness, and today we have our very first ever guest to my YouTube channel. Her name is Ann Frederick. Hello.
Hello.
Ann is a stretch guru master. She has been working in this area since 1995 or a little bit earlier, right?
Yep.
You have a master's in kinesiology, which is one of the cooler masters that you can get out there, especially in the fitness industry. So she looks at bodies in a completely different way than most personal trainers look at bodies. And you and your husband have a company together called Stretch to Win, and you founded it in 1995. Tell me if that's right.
Well, it became, it's gone through several name generations, as all companies do. We created the Stretch to Win Institute in '99. We've had the center, and then we created the teaching entity, and so it is now the Stretch to Win Institute, and he and I have run it together since 1999.
So that's pretty amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Especially on being married and running a business together.
And still loving each other.
And so, yes. My husband and I just started in business about a year and a half ago. It's been fun. So I want to get right into the interview. And the first question I want to ask you is, what is the number one thing that people do wrong when they stretch?
Oh, boy. That's a very hot and loaded topic around this house most of the time. In the fact that we forever are defending our philosophy because we have continually get asked about static stretching and why the research continues to come back negative. My husband and I are both ex-professional dancers, and we knew many, many years ago that static stretching was not a good thing. So part of the challenge is the education piece of letting people know that the research is negative because they put all of the stretching into one category, which is not correct. The sort of stretching that our technique is based on is very dynamic, and it's perpetual movement. So it's the opposite of what's done traditionally. So I think that piece is trying to re-educate the public and try to have them understand that if you continue to move through it, you're going to have a much greater gain and response to the body than if you just hold the position, which for many reasons doesn't work.
Yeah, so just to make sure everyone understands, static stretching is that traditional, reach over and bend your toes and stay there. Or in my opinion, what's worse is if you do like ballistic stretching where you go as far as you can and then try to yourself to get a little bit further. And then, so tell me more about the dynamic stretching. Like, what do you do with your clients?
Well, we have a table-assisted stretching technique that's based in science. It's based in neuroscience, and it's based in the connective tissue fascial system. It has 10 principles that it's governed by. It is something that our belief is huge not to ever elicit pain or cause the startle effect. So people go into a protective or reactive. I think that is something that is really important. Like you said, traditionally people try to push too far and then set themselves back because there's a negative response. We believe that you should work in spiral diagonal patterns. And if I might, I'm going to just show you real quickly a very efficient way to explain how our technique is very different than most techniques.
Would love it.
Okay, so what I'd like you to do, Lisa, is I'd like you to hold up your non-dominant finger for me. And then I'd like you to do what's traditional self-stretching. So if you just kind of try to stretch it back a little bit, it doesn't do a whole lot, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so now I come along and I'm a traditional person, trainer, therapist trying to do stretching, and then I'm going to just match finger to finger and just push back, and you hit a quick barrier, not much happens, correct?
Yeah, it's not going much further even though I'm pushing.
And not a whole lot of fun. Our philosophy is you traction the joint, so take your hand, this is the therapist coming along, it always has to dance. You're going to grasp your finger,
Okay.
You're going to lengthen it up towards the ceiling, and you're going to gently increase, and as you take it back, you'll see there's
wow, that is so much more.
You see that? So do you see what that?
That is amazing, and that's just my finger.
Well, and we do that to your whole body. It's the philosophy. Our premise is you got to open the joint capsule, which is part of the limitation, before you can get the tissue to let go, and it relaxes the system. So our whole technique is based on that premise. And we also teach self-stretching in the way that you elongate and lift and open the spine, just as it is in Pilates, to lengthen before you move into any of the positions so that you're not compressed, because we have such a compression issue as time goes on and we sit, and age and gravity and all those things that stresses that lay in the body. You got to open up. One of the other things is you got to lengthen in order to get the cerebellum to get the complete response also.
Yeah, this all dovetails very well in everything that I do in my Pilates studio with my clients. Yes, I'm always talking about strength with extension. So
Absolutely.
getting, tall and long and really reaching out as far as you can, and getting that sense of length and strength. And then range of motion just naturally comes from that.
Exactly.
So
And it feels good, which is the whole premise of there's so many things that we do in order to be fit that unfortunately doesn't feel good. And I think if you can get the body to feel good, it's going to have a much more positive effect than gritting through something.
you mean you're not supposed to pound your body into the ground?
No, ma'am. Those years of dancing and doing in the point shoes and jumping and doing all those things, let's just say I'm much happier now that I'm not standing on my toes for a living.
Yeah, I can imagine. I was a gymnast, so I just stuck out my butt and my chest a lot.
I went down that road too, and that compresses you, and we're little to begin with, so.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to move into another area, and I know it's very much a part of what you do, and for a lot of people who are kind of new to this whole concept of what you're not supposed to do static stretching anymore, is the fascia. And so if you could explain what the fascia is, or fascia, and then how it affects stretching.
Okay. The fascia, or connective tissue, fascia is kind of the word that it's been given, is the netting that is global through the body. Part of understanding the fascial system is realizing that we have it right underneath the skin in layers and layers and layers and layers all the way down to the bone, the periosteum of the bone. So it is interconnected. It's filled with liquid, or supposed to be. It is absolutely where the sense of proprioception and well-being is in the body. It's also where things get stuck. So when you get adhesions in the fascia, that can happen on many, many levels from superficial down to deep, you have interference with the communication. It can be where the pain receptors get glued down and get very irritated and inflamed. So our premise is getting all of the stickiness, or the sticky points in the connective tissue, to let go, so that there is freedom of movement in the net of the connective tissue. Part of it is we get stuck in areas from repetitive movement. We get stuck in areas where we've had surgeries. Dehydration is a big component. Lots and lots of things add to the stickiness or the catching points. So a little bit can go a long way. And part of it is working in a very multi-directional mindset, so that you're not just working in a linear pattern, which is not how we move or how we're put together.
Right. I especially see that in men. Men are sort of, they go forward, they occasionally go backwards, they never go side to side. And then rotation is like a whole other thing.
That's something also to do with their thought process, you think?
Yeah, maybe. So I do know that you're in a bit of a time crunch today, so I want to get one really important question in. If I'm learning about all of this for the first time, and I'm thinking like, okay, I need to rethink what I do at the end of my workout, what are some first steps that people can do on their own in the gym after a run to stretch better?
One of the main things that we've learned through 20 years of a private practice, a clinic, is to give people a few stretches that are customized for what their body needs, not just what they remember from high school. So my whole thing is typically getting the hips to open up. We have something called the core four of the lower body, which is the glute complex with the deep rotators, the iliopsoas complex, the quadratus lumborum on the sides, and then the lats. So that is the key regions that we go after. We think in not traditional anatomy, but we think about the areas and the fascial lines. And for me, even if they do like a 2-to-1 ratio of hip flexor to glute complex idea, So they're not always doing both sides bilaterally the same, because very rarely are we tight the same. So
Right.
part of it's teaching them how to listen and not just go through the routine and not pay attention to what their body actually needs.
So it's a lot of opening up through the hips, opening up through the upper back.
Yeah.
What do you think about foam rollers? Are you a fan?
No.
No. Okay. How come you're not a fan?
My philosophy is that most of the time people roll on foam rollers on areas that, for example, the IT band, you can't change the IT band. All you have to do is one dissection and look at what the density of an IT band in a cadaver, and it is physiologically impossible to actually change it. You can't at enough pressure with the foam roller. And you've got nerves that run up and down that you oftentimes irritate. I really prefer smaller balls.
Oh, okay.
I'm a huge fan of Trigger Point Technologies out of Austin, Texas. I love theirs. I love the melt method. I think Sue Hitzman is an incredible addition to that whole philosophy, and she's also, as a fasciato, she's been with us at all the fascial research congresses since the beginning.
Okay.
I like anything that is non-aggressive.
Okay.
From a rolling standpoint. Again, it's that beating up concept that just really is not effective in the long run. You may feel like you're doing a lot, but typically it's not the most effective approach to take.
You are a woman after my own heart. So if somebody is, so this is like a chronic issue that I see all the time, that a runner has a tight IT band, so they roll, and they never feel better. And then they wind up with a knee injury.
And my philosophy is that very rarely IT band issues are actually IT band issues. I think it's the victim, but I don't think it's the culprit.
Okay. Super interesting. So, do you have any videos that we could link to so I can give some examples or anything like that?
I absolutely. We're about ready as we speak now. We're hopefully in the next 3 weeks going to launch a new website that's going to have a lot more educational. Stretchtowin.com is the website.
Okay, excellent.
But we're working on a database also that hopefully in the next 6 months, by the end of the year, we're going to have a database of video clips that people can actually put programs together. We're working on that piece because it's something that I think videos are very, very helpful.
Yes.
And I think left up to one's interpretation of a book, and we're actually in the process of writing the second edition to our first book, and we're actually writing another book for manual therapists. It's always important to put a video component with it. So it's one of those things that I think we've got the core for you can download, and I'd be happy to send it to you if you want to let your readers know how to get a hold of it.
Yeah, that would be great. I can put all the links below, and I will encourage everybody to check out stretchtowin.com, and if you have an email list, to definitely get on your email list. And I will definitely make sure everything is connected so people can follow along with a very smart lady like yourself. So, Ann, thank you very much. I do know that you need to run off to the next thing, but I hope I get a chance to talk to you again someday.
It would be my pleasure.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Lisa.
Okay. Bye-bye.